Panetta.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate this opportunity. And I recognize that obviously writing this type of budget resolution is no easy task, as we're going to find out over these next 10 to 12 hours. It requires tough choices, serious trade-offs, and a clear-eyed assessment of how current policies impact growth and revenues. Done right, a budget resolution shows what we value and how we intend to steer the country forward. That is why it is so important to get this right. And frankly, it is why the details of this budget resolution, or at least the details that we did get, are all the more disappointing. My district on the Central Coast of California, the 19th Congressional District, is reeling already from these chaotic funding freezes caused by the administration. While schools are trying to assess if the federal government will continue to support their students, while families are being squeezed by high prices at the grocery store, this budget threatens to rip away critical lifelines that help working families: Medicare, food assistance, student loans, other assistance programs that help the working families. This budget resolution does this while the administration is digging through taxpayers' sensitive information and causing chaos with economically disastrous policies like tariffs on our closest and most extensive trading partners. This administration does this basically as it begins its mass deportation policies that is either removing or scaring those people who are working from going to work. I'm not talking about the criminals. I'm talking about the hardworking families who come here and contribute to our way of life, and again, do jobs that no other American will do. You take them away, you scare them away, you will hurt our nation's economic growth. And despite the high prices, the policies that hamper growth, and the inclusion of reconciliation instructions that tee up deep cuts to critical safety nets, this resolution wishfully projects a $2.6 trillion growth. The resolution does this while instructing the Ways and Means Committee, my committee, to increase the deficit by up to $4.5 trillion and allowing up to $3.3 trillion in deficit increases. There used to be a time where Republicans used to value the issues when it comes to our debt and deficit. And I can tell you that trying to make these numbers up from economic growth are going to be very, very difficult. Getting $3 trillion in additional revenue from economic growth over a decade would require a sustained real growth of around 3.2%. The difference between 1.8 and 3.2% is huge. As Douglas Holtz-Eakin recently said, if you can move the U.S. economy by 0.4% in 10 years, that's an enormous success. However, you have to have really good deregulation. You have to have really good tax policy, and you have to have a really good deficit reduction. We do not have that in this budget resolution, and that's why it's going to hurt our economy, especially given the tax cuts proposed that will not and cannot place our nation on a safer fiscal footing. My constituents cannot afford these policies, our country cannot afford them, and most importantly, our children in the future cannot afford this budget resolution. And for that reason, I will strongly oppose this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.